Alright people, so I'm going to be showing these things right here. The plants around here in Home Depot Gardens part. Alright, so these are just plants right here. These are fake plants because they're like made of metal. They are. And some of them are. If they're real, I don't know. Wait, hold on. What? Oh, I'm sorry. These are real plants right here. I showed the wrong camera. Okay, so these plants right here, they're just cactus everywhere. You see? I see a lot of these cactus right over here that I thought. You've seen cactus like that since the desert. I noticed that. Let me see what else. Yes, these plants right here are just what I needed. You just look at. So they have all these plants right here are just, that's the thing. The Home Depot gardeners have worked hard on these things to keep them good. For people to order they want it. Gotta be careful. And these plants right here are just what I needed to see. I'm just noticing that. Alright. When you look at this, you see plants. When I look at them, I see nature around here with these plants. All of them. See? It's all of them. And all this garden stuff right here, I just noticed that. I didn't realize all this. I realized that. See? Just know. Alright, so what can I do? Alright, so wait. I better hurry up so I don't waste much time. About this sign right here. Plant. Caution. Yeah, it's this plant. Water frequency, floors are slippery. Yes, it can be slippery sometimes. Because if I move too fast, it's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem if I move too fast, like running. But these plants right here are just what I see right here. Plants are cool. Excellent work. And I'm about to see more of them. All these plants right here are just what I needed to see. And it's crazy enough. When I don't do anything. Yeah, the grasses right here. It's not just grass. It's not just ground cover. And this parallel. And more around here. I think. Let me see what I can do. These plants are cool. I'm seeing that. Nice. And I have my mom here. Nice. Yeah, I'm with my mom. Yes. These plants look very cool. I see. Nice plants. I see them right there. Okay. Okay. Let's get out. These plants are everywhere. I thought. This looks very cool. Nice. Yeah, I have my mom right here. Alright. So yeah, this is what I need. See more plants right here. This is cool. Alright. Nice. More plants everything. Alright. Everything seems to be fine around there, I thought. I'm just noticing that. Alright. So, yes. I'm just very proud of myself for seeing all this stuff. I'm just very proud of myself. Alright. So yeah. This is what I have to see. Alright. careful. More of these plants right here. More of these plants right here than I thought. Look at this. I'm not going to waste too much time. What I'm trying to say is I'm not going to waste my time looking around because I need to be back with my mom before I leave here. Because I don't want to mess things up. But anyways, these plants right here are just cooler than I thought. Because there's been like over 1,000 of them plants around here. I think so. And these tractors right here, this is what they used. I'm not sure if they used to ride these things. But yeah, those tractors look very interesting. I don't know. Yes. More of these plants around here are very cool. I realize that. Okay. Let me see. Alright. Well, it's just...
Another bills. With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exams. It was $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
This driving is just not good for me. There's too much traffic. Last time I saw a traffic, it was an accident.
Hi everybody, happy Friday. It's 4 o'clock only. Donald Trump reignited our country's trade war today, making not one but two major and consequential announcements.
50% starting on June 1st. Who's he recommending that to? The Senate?
Things are getting different.
If it's not an emergency, if it's not a fentanyl situation, does he have the authority?
Recommending it to himself. Yeah, I think his pitch is, you're not at the table, we need you at the table.
We're at he's recommending it to himself, part of the Trump tariff story. Now, whether or not Trump has authority in this matter at all, the fact remains, as experts have repeated on this program and others over and over again, the cost of tariffs is eventually paid for and shouldered by the American consumers. It is a tax, which leads us to the second of Trump's big announcements today, again made on social media. He threatened Apple with a 25% tariff unless producing iPhones in the U.S. In the course of making that threat, Trump suggested the tariff would, quote, be paid by Apple. A strange thing to say from the man who's long maintained that tariffs are paid for by other countries. But again, either's true. It's
that's jealousy.
Sort of the titans of American ingenuity and technology, not in the crowd, but standing on, looking out at us, the consumers, as if we too were subjects in a monarchy. Not any remorse that Donald Trump is now not responding to what clearly they sought to do by being there, appease him.
And what did it get Tim Cook, who gave $1 million of his own money for the inauguration and stood there with all of those,
looking out,
right? What did it get him? It got him with Trump right now over his very lucrative, important product, the iPhone.
There's still more traffic
Apple
going on. I just realized
moving, saying it has a big plan underway right now that it hasn't quite pulled the trigger on to move as much manufacturing as it can to a democratic country, democracy, make the stuff that's destined for the U.S. as maybe a way to satisfy, Trump's trade war with China. And the president's saying that's not good enough. He wants that stuff made in the U.S. And it brings me, my apologies to Justin, who's a great economist, but also that Econ 101 textbook about comparative advantage. We should be doing the stuff we do well here, like exporting education services. Harvard, for example, that is counted on our trade deficit. That's a good thing to be able to have that kind of money coming in from foreign students. We do stuff like that very well. We export services very well, financial services, legal services, consulting services, education services, making an iPhone to the strengths of what the U.S. does.
On the broader picture, I have to speak in first before I do that, but just put a pin in that question because I'll start with you on the other side. Also, Justin and Christine have mentioned Harvard. Well, Harvard is today fighting back. They have launched a lawsuit, and the judges blocked Trump would have prevented the university from enrolling any international students. Also had J.D. Vance making a case for Donald Trump to rule as the king, actually taking aim at the judiciary and Chief Justice John Roberts. Trump administration defeat after defeat for the unlawfulness of their policy moves. We'll have all those stories and more until the White House continues after a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Don't miss a second of the action all the way through the NBA Finals. It's good from the left wing. Jalen Brunson is red hot. And throughout the playoffs, get closer to the storylines that matter on NBA Radio, Channel 86.
There are certain guys that you need to be a part of your roster to win NBA championships.
Listen to home and away broadcasts of every NBA playoff game on your radio and the Sirius XM app.
At California Psychics, we know some people can't read the career warning signs. Like your boss, still not knowing your name.
You, Tina, Lisa, Sheila, whatever. Get that report to me by lunch, okay? It's Carrie, man. Just get it done, Terry.
So talk to California Psychics and receive the career guidance you need. We only connect you with the very best, so guarantee if you're reading it. Limited time offers.
Some say
This is where we get out here in this part.
is like fertilizer because of the way it promotes growth. Some say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk, scaling with you while being magically affordable. And some say Odoo's programs for manufacturing, accounting, and more are like building blocks for creating a custom software suite. But I say Odoo is all of it. Fertilizer magic beanstalk building blocks for business. Yeah, Odoo. Exactly what every business needs. Sign up at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6761. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer by visiting us online at tra.com.
I don't think so.
Or call 800-575-6761. That's 800-575-6761. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments with credit card debt reaching all-time highs? Overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-763-9977. 800-763-9977. 800-763-9977.
Hear every MLB game on Sirius XM. Listen to your favorite team all season long with your hometown announcers on the Sirius XM app. For a complete MLB schedule, go to SiriusXM.com/sports.
Well,
Complicated than the iPhone supply chain, and we want more things made in America. The key here is supply chains are complicated, they take time to move, and there's the comparative advantage of what do we do best here in the United States versus what's best done somewhere else.
So, David Jelly, Congressman French there. Romans. But I guess I show that to say that we cover Republicans as living on Earth too, right? Where up is down and down, right? Where everything is backwards. On CNBC, where this congressman articulate the truth, do you think that Republicans will ever find a moment where they do that in a political context?
No, not until there's a crisis and Donald Trump's on his way out. I really don't. I would also acknowledge, look, there's a bell curve when it comes to the understanding. Most of his colleagues, and
So many of them will just defend Donald Trump out of raw ignorance. And in that space of the layperson, let me say, Nicole, one of the reasons I love being with you during these conversations is to listen to Christine and Justin and to learn from them. I know that's true of millions of Americans as well. But I think one thing French Hill did not acknowledge in that conversation is, look, there is not a competitive economic way for the U.S. to re-domesticate the manufacturing of iPhones or other goods, tennis shoes, whatever it might be, unless you subsidize that. Significantly subsidize that through enormous tax credits, agriculture, all the big government things that Republicans are apparently against. But as Justin was pointing out, maybe they're not so against them now that you have an executive who's trying to manipulate economies by fiat. So listen, if you do want to domesticate certain industries, we can have that conversation. But what it would take is something that Republicans about going forward, which puts them in the effort to simply insulate their president politically. But their day's coming, the reckoning's coming, because what Donald Trump is doing is not sustainable economically, and ultimately.
One time, the data didn't suggest people knew they were being lied to. On tariffs and inflation, 66 and 63% of Americans know it's a lie. So you do still have about 34, I'm not good at math, obviously, percent of people who either enjoy the lie or don't mind the lie or don't know it's a lie. But you don't have 66% of Americans who agree on much of anything, and they know that the tariff policy and the inflation are bad news for their families.
Yeah, Nicole, one of Donald Trump's superpower is he can kind of penetrate the low information space of space. And look, the reality is 90% of politics is decided in a relatively low information space. People are more concerned about their kids, their family, their schools, their churches. Based on very little actual information. Arguably, elections are not even about policy sometimes. It's just based on how someone feels about the candidate. So for Donald Trump, who has so understood the low information, low propensity space, by disrupting uncertainty, and they know there's only one person responsible for this, and it's Donald Trump, it is one of the greatest tactical mistakes politically that Donald Trump has made. Right? All of the protection of democracy, the attacks on the institutions, as we have seen, unfortunately, that does not seem to penetrate into the low information space. It doesn't inform. But you disrupt the cost of their iPhone or the cost of their bread or whatever the good is that they're used to getting at a certain price, and now they buy information way to Donald Trump, who has done this to them. That is why we're seeing Donald Trump's numbers where they're at.
Justin, tell me what this means to all voters. I guess David is talking about folks who pay a lot of attention. People watch this program know more about tariffs than I do. But he's sort of talking about people that are news junkies and people that maybe have their focus elsewhere, like the NBA Finals or other places. No judgment. But tell me what is going to be felt if on June 1st there's a 50% tariff on goods from the EU.
Okay, this is a really important one. So the first thing is the European Union, like the United States, they're both high-wage economies. So that means if you jack up the cost of importing from the EU, that's the same as an embargo. So for all intents and purposes, just imagine that Trump said no boats are allowed in, no wine, no Manchego, no Parmesan, and so on. Yes, all of those things are true. But that's not the only thing that comes through on those boats. This is where knowing a little bit about the economy is really important. One of the most important imports into the United States from the European Union is precision machinery. Basically, if you want to stand up a factory, if you want to start making organic soups, the machinery that gets the soup in the can and gets the can sealed, and then gets the can in the box and the box on the truck, all comes from Europe. The cost of that machinery has just gone up 50%. So what that in turn means is basically anyone who the president had persuaded to start building a factory right now is saying to themselves, oh, I'm going to put this on hold. I can't afford this 50% extra. I'm going to have to wait till this passes, whether that's 3 months when the president gets bored or 3.5 years when we move to the next administration. But you just made all of my numbers unworkable. Thereby, the president has undermined American manufacturing. And this is what's really important about how we think about the economics of it all. 100 years ago, you'd say something like, the French make cheese, and they do it from the cow all the way through to the delicious thing. What we now have is goods cross crossing borders at multiple points of production. When you put a tariff on goods from Europe, you're putting a tariff on inputs into American manufacturing. So you're undermining America's business at the same time.
You know, we had the CEOs of the ports of Long Beach in this program, and what they told me, Justin, is that half of the things that come through are goods or things that could make their way, I guess, in their congressional district in the country, is what they both told me. But the other half of what comes through are parts, pieces, machinery. What is the economic impact of something even broader than just the 50% on the EU?
Right, so let me start on the EU.
This is just unexpected, I see.
Realize right now, any manufacturing country in the world can buy precision German machinery without a 50% markup. Any company can do that, except those in the United States. See what that's done to American competitive? So news business to say, are we in a recession? Are we? That's all very interesting. That's fine. But we in the economics business ask bigger questions. We ask what makes some countries rich, like the United States, and some countries poor, like Argentina. Well, in fact, Argentina used to be rich. 100 years ago, it was one of the richest countries in the world. It was set to be as rich as any of us. And what happened is they put in place a set of political institutions that basically meant they were unable to provide the guideposts for stable economic policy and the guideposts for businesses to invest and the guideposts where people felt comfortable that if they opened a business they would get to reap the rewards rather than have central command tell them what to do next. And so it's that bigger picture we don't spend enough time talking about, which could undermine the state of the economy, not next year in a possible recession, but for our kids. And the effects here are huge. Realize that some countries are 50 times richer than other countries. And those differences aren't about differences in the weather. They're about economic structures. And what we're doing right now is we're taking the most successful economic structure in the history of the world and taking a sledgehammer to it.
You know, Christine, to that point, I used to ask Democrats if they could protect democracy as one party. It's clear the answer is no, all the time. They had different answers, and they hoped they could. But in the end, the results of the election of November proved that no, one party. You need the two parties in a democracy. I asked you this question in that vein. Can the Fed chair and a free and vibrant press protect the American economy from the just and evil if the business leaders continue to do things like parse the answer to is your stuff going to get more expensive after Trump's tariffs go into effect?
I mean, I think what's fascinating is the Fed has been able to maintain its independence. Even a Supreme Court ruling this week, or opinion this week, sort of solidified that independence of the Federal Reserve. I also never count out American capitalism. This is a really challenging moment, but the profit motive in the United States is swirled. And if they had more information about this trade strategy,
but there isn't any information.
I know.
Where are they looking?
But that's what's so frustrating about it. But companies are just trying to figure out how do you continue to make money and pursue, your shareholder return in this very complicated.
Can I answer that for you?
Sure.
In case they ask you, you do it by having checks and balances on a flagrantly corrupt and autocratic president, by making sure that Democrats win in big ways. I mean, are they giving more money to Democrats?
Here's what's crazy, though. You talk about the two-party system, and which party is which? I mean, sometimes Donald Trump sounds like Bernie Sanders, and sometimes, right? I mean, you have a Republican Party that sounds more like a big government moving the levers and picking the winners and losers in some cases, and Democrats who, appear to be sort of in the wilderness, still trying to find what their message is going to be.
But they're not for firing Jerome Powell.
No, they're not.
And I guess at some point, businesses have to decide if living in a world where whoever is in the White House doesn't fire Jerome Powell is good or bad.
I'll just say one thing about the president. The president does have this way of appealing to the public with a kind of a bumper sticker economics, which is don't like tariffs, build it here. And that actually resonates. When I go home to the Midwest, to Iowa, that resonates with people. That resonates with farmers who actually are getting hurt right now by Trump's trade wars. But that don't like tariffs, build it here. He says it over and over again, and that somehow I think he truly believes it too. And that's what business is left trying to navigate sort of around that, even though we've explained at length why it's not that simple. It's not a simple bumper sticker.
Do any of them believe it?
skilled manufacturing. That's what this Apple news is about. Apple has made other very big investments in the United States, by the way, too. The iPhone in particular, it seems to be a real push from the president. It's remarkable.
Really?
What happened?
I don't think, nobody, people who cover the company, they don't think so. And one analyst today said it's a fairy tale. Even if you sprinkle the pixie dust down there, you wouldn't be able to get it made here in the United States. But
Bumper stickers and fairy tales, thank you. Christina Robbins, Justin Wolfers, and David Jolly, thank you so much for starting us off. Have a wonderful weekend. After the break, countless lives, groundbreaking scientific research, our country's reputation as a place, as an iconic and magnet kind of place to live and work, all of that on the line in the Trump administration's war against Harvard University. We'll talk about that next.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now skyrockets Debt Relief at 800-474-1811. 800-474-1811. Again, that's 800-474-1811. Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens,
authoritarian assault on this country, because I came here because I love the US, I love the values that this country stands for, and all of that is under threat
ABC News' Antonia Hilton on exactly what's going on right now and what's at stake in the Trump administration's attempt to harm Harvard. Today, a federal judge swiftly blocked the Trump administration's attempt to bar foreign students from Harvard University just hours after Harvard filed suit earlier this morning. In its lawsuit, Harvard writes, quote, "With the stroke of a pen, the government has sought to erase a quarter of Harvard's student body. International students who contribute significantly to the university and its mission. Without its international students, Harvard is not Harvard." Now, while the ban remains blocked for now, it has left the international student community at the school in complete turmoil, wondering if they will be able to continue their studies here in the U.S., and the price will be paid by all Americans. If they're not, as the U.S. loses its...
But it is just what is the legal claim here? There are really two main ones. One is a procedural claim that there are actually procedures that are in writing that the Department of Homeland follow, and Harvard has made a really good case that they haven't followed those procedures. In other words, you don't just get to send a letter that says to Harvard, you're out. There are all sorts of requirements of notice, of time to cure, of actually setting out the reasons, like specific factual reasons for why you're taking this action. And Harvard points out none of that has happened. They haven't complied with what the Department of Homeland Security on its own website.
A few minutes later.
We want those people to come here, to Harvard, and to every other university. May be the focus today, but we are just the emblem of the entire system. And then we put it in a system that has public and private collaboration, that has results.
Yeah, so I'm back here, alright? So, I just want to say that those grilled cheese sandwiches I ate in that restaurant in Dallas, and that mac and cheese on it was so good. Alright, so yeah. That's what I like to eat. I mean, I've never been to that restaurant before in my life. This is my first time as a 23-year-old black male human being, of course. And yeah, I got out there, and I need to tell you, I went to Home Depot to do that, to look at all those plants that mom likes. You know, my mother likes that. Okay, so. She bought 2 plants of her own, and she put them outside in the front yard. Yeah, it's in the front yard, not the backyard, because there's not enough room in the backyard to plant gardens. It's just the front yard. Okay, so, yeah, because I want to say that the food you get there is just great. They have excellent food. Yeah, and I just want to tell you that mental health crises have spread. Like I heard in the news, there's been mental health crisis going on, anxiety and depression. Yeah, it's true. Mental health awareness is just crazy. People are dealing with mental health issues, and it causes more violence, which is not so good. But I'm sure I have nothing to worry about. Well, some people are just mentally ill, like Diddy. Okay, where was I? Yeah, I came back home, and that traffic I was going to the restaurant was just a mess. That accident crashed. Yeah. Car crash. There's just too much. Like so many famous people died from that too. Like my dad passed away from that. Like I told you before. So yeah, I went back home and I was sweating so much. The heat for me is just making me sick and stressed. I mean, all that heat can cause me a heat stroke. I would have passed away from that. I mean, I don't like the heat so much. The heat is just too much. But I moved on from that. I just came back home. Yeah. So I'm done doing that. I did everything I could do with Mom and Garrett, which is my brother, of course. So I'm about to take a shower so I can cool myself out. I would take either a cold shower, or a hot shower. Probably a cold shower. I don't know. But I do have to go now. Because there are some other stuff to do. I'll be probably live stream more or do more recordings on gaming on YouTube and Twitch, on my YouTube gaming channel and Twitch channel. Okay, so yeah, I'm done because I don't have a real job, and I have to. Well, the only job I can do is being a social media influencer, like gaming, like other people have Yeah, they have thousands of subscribers. One of them have 1 million, I guess. So yeah, I'm about to just take a shower and either try resting or do more live streaming and stuff, or do other stuff, or just play my retro game that I have right over there. Of course, I was playing Spider-Man anyway. Spider-Man 2 from the PSP on this retro gaming pro thing, or normal. But that's all to get. I gotta go because this PSA is over. It's also good for having cold. It's also good for having in cold water if you're getting sweaty and hot too much. So yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye. That's the adventures. Have a great day.